Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Happy Rapture Day, or was that yesterday? For all of us that are still on Earth, we're going to be continuing our Pokemon investments. For everyone that is in heaven, let me know how your Pokemon investments are doing. But in all seriousness, today we're going to be going over booster boxes in the Scarlet and Violet era. If you haven't seen the news, certain boxes like Paradox Rift and like Destined Rivals have been seeing some buyouts recently. And unfortunately, this just kind of shows that the Pokemon market is not, bulletproof when it comes to rampant market manipulation. Now, this has been happening for a long time. This is not a new thing. We saw buyouts happen with certain singles, right? The only problem is that with sealed, they're more of a hassle to ship out. They're more of a hassle to sell, and typically, a lot of times when people buy sealed, they will rip that sealed. Right now, with a buyout, typically the people buying them are trying to just increase the price, so they're gonna hold it. They're not, really gonna open it. But there is always some percentage of sealed that is sold that then just gets ripped and is removed from the market. Singles don't really work in that way. There's always more singles added onto the market, and Pokemon's not really doing reprints of some of these older sets. So, obviously, the reduced supply is going to have a meaningful impact on the price, and it's going to make it more sticky in terms of if the market accepts it or not. So let's start with SV base, and we'll kind of work our way up all the way to Destined Rivals. And the main point of this video that I really want to drive home is that if you want to buy into certain boxes, you need to do it sooner rather than later. And I hate to be the person saying that. I don't want to drive FOMO. I don't want to cause FOMO. But as someone who invests in Pokemon, I already have my position set out in Scarlet and Violet. I'm pretty happy with the boxes I have, so I'm not really looking to buy more. However, if you are completely new to investing, if you don't have many boxes, or you're still kind of looking to buy certain boxes, again, I think you need to be a little more urgent before more market kind of manipulation happens and it feels like it's too late. So let's start with SV base. Not the best booster box, and honestly, I probably wouldn't be picking this up, especially if you have $250 to drop on a booster box. I just don't think it really makes sense. The top hit in this is a Gardevoir. Now, you could make a long-term play because Koraidon and Miraidon SIRs are probably going to be pretty popular with the newer generation of kids when they grow up, right? So like 5 to 10 years down the line when they have a lot of money, perhaps these boxes will be doing amazingly. But listen, it's going to be very hard to reliably count on that. And I think I'd actually rather not buy a SV based booster box. If you're going to buy anything from SV base, I would recommend the PC ETBs or even just the regular ETBs over the booster box. You're not putting as much capital down towards an investment like that. And while it's going to be a decent investment, like it's going to grow, don't get me wrong. I just think there's a lot better places you could be putting your money. So I wouldn't really necessarily recommend this specifically. Now let's move on to Paldea Evolved. This has been getting a lot of hype for the past few months. In fact, we did see a sort of buyout in September, although it wasn't necessarily just a pure buyout. Like obviously this box had a lot of natural demand. It's been kind of steadily rising and then getting big legs up as of recently. But as you can see with sealed, once it reaches big legs up, it'll have a small consolidation period and then just keep going up. Sealed is not as risky, as singles. So it is much easier to buy into them and just hold on to them for continued gains. Paldea Evolved right now seems like it is kind of starting a new consolidation period. I don't think this box is going to move too much. However, with the current market conditions, I would be a little scared or a little cautious about getting complacent, especially if you have zero exposure to Paldea Evolved. I would consider getting a booster box if you want. If you don't have the money to buy into a $460 booster box, which is absolutely insane to me still, then I would look at the ETB as a good alternative. The ETBs, if you don't know, come with a really solid Pikachu promo that has all 3 starters. Plus, you get Paldea Evolved packs. The set obviously is very good, and I think that's still only like $100 to $150. So on the cheaper end, and I think those will do really well. The ETB box art has all 3 starters from Paldea on there, and I think that's one of the best starter sets we've gotten in a while. So I think if you want to buy in Paldea Evolved, the ETBs are a great choice. The booster box is a great choice. Yeah, just keep it sealed, and I think this set will do really, really well for you. This is probably the best and safest investment in terms of a set that I could give right now because it's almost guaranteed we're not going to be getting more reprints of this set. It's going to rotate out, I think, next April because it is a Regulation G set. Check out my video on Regulation G if you want to know which other sets are going to be rotating out. But yeah, I think Paldea Evolved is a great buy. Next, we have Obsidian Flames, which is kind of the dark horse of the SV era. And I think people that were really in tune with what players wanted and what kids were opening would understand why Obsidian Flames is so expensive. When kids go to a card shop and they ask the owner, like, hey, what could I open to get a Charizard from? They probably will be pointed towards Obsidian Flames, which makes the most sense, right? Paldean Fates, while it has a really good Charizard card, is not known for being the Charizard set. Obsidian Flames is. And Charizard sets just tend to do well, even though I'm not a huge fan of the artwork. The SIR is doing some numbers. It's got a few smaller hits in there as well. And so it is looking to be one of the better booster boxes in terms of growth. However, I'm still not fully convinced that this is going to be the best investment long term, but I will say that Obsidian Flames, while the booster box is not my favorite pickup, I think the ETB is still severely undervalued for the promo that is inside. While this is somewhat similar to the Paldea Evolved ETB in terms of it having a good promo, this is leagues above the Paldea Evolved promo. Guys, the Charmander looking out of the window to stare at the Pidgeys not only fits into a set with the other two illustration rares from Stellar Crown, so you kind of need that Charmander to complete the full set. But if you go to the Pokemon TCG subreddit, and maybe this is a little niche, but if you just look at comments, people use this Charmander card as a meme. It's a pretty iconic card. I think it's actually going to become one of the best cards from the Scarlet and Violet era. People are going to look back on this card very fondly because it's a very cute thing, right? Charmander is looking out at these Pidgeys and he's kind of angry. I mean, this has such meme potential. Like, he's just super angry looking at the Pidgey. And I think if you don't necessarily, enjoy Obsidian Flames as a set, I still think buying the ETB is probably an amazing choice. And you still get some exposure to Obsidian Flames as an overall set as well. And it's a cheaper price point. In fact, I think I would rather have two of these ETBs compared to a single booster box of Obsidian Flames. But with all that said, I don't really believe in Obsidian Flames as a set in terms of the best growth that you could see. And so I still wouldn't really recommend you buy too much into it, besides the ETB. I think this is kind of a more unique product that I would be looking into. Next, we have Paradox Rift booster boxes. Now, these were subject to a big buyout, and it does look like the price is kind of sticking. So what happened is, I believe we got confirmed sales up to like $400, which is absolutely insane. Obviously, that price isn't going to stick when people still have Paradox Rift sitting in their closet. And so what happens when a box moves over like 50%, in a single day or something, or moves, what is this, 20%, 25% in a single day, people are going to take profits, right? So what happens is people then look at their boxes on their shelves, they see them in their card shops, and they say, okay, well, I'm going to take down whatever listings I had before at a lower price, and I'm going to relist them at a higher price because I know people are willing to buy it. And that's going to just make sure that the Paradox Rift booster box, although it doesn't keep the same $400 price, it's going to be higher than it was before, which I think was like $250 or $220 or something. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Paradox Rift. I think it has some good cards, like the Roaring Moon SIR, the Altaria SIR, Goldengo. It has the Groudon, I believe, as well. Like, these are decent cards, but they're not really set defining or era defining in any way, shape, or form. So I wouldn't really be rushing to buy this box. And in fact, I think once we get past Paradox Rift, I'm going to get into some other booster boxes soon after this. I think these are going to be much better pickups than Paradox Rift. I think the time to buy Paradox Rift has now passed. If you wanted to buy it, I would have bought it in the 220 range. Now, me personally, I bought a case for $600 back when it was like $100 a box. So, I'll be honest, I got very lucky with that play. This is back when the Pokemon hobby was not where it is right now, where every box was over MSRP. So I got lucky with that play. I'm still going to hold on to my case of booster boxes and just see where it takes me, right? I have no reason to sell. I have no plans to sell. But I think if you don't have Paradox Rift at this point, I would just let go. If you want to get into the set, if you really believe in the set, buy the PC ETBs, but I would skip on the booster box. Next, you have Temporal Forces. Now, this is one I really, really believe it, guys. I have always been a firm believer that Temporal Forces is better than Paradox Rift in many ways. One, you have a Ghastly illustration rare that is tough to grade. Now, I know Groudon is a popular Pokemon, and the Groudon illustration rare is more expensive right now than the Paradox, in the Paradox Rift set. But I think the Ghastly from Temporal Forces will soon overtake the Groudon, and I think that PSA 10 copy is going to get more and more coveted as time goes on and as Temporal Forces gets more expensive. I mean, the Ghastly illustration rare is very cool. You get Ghastly, you get Haunter, and you get Gengar all in one card. It's a very unique card. Plus, you get the 3 legendary dogs, right? You get Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Obviously, they're in their past forms, which is a little bit different. But Raging Bolt does seem to be a popular kind of rendition of Raikou. And in fact, I think there's more Raging Bolt fans than there are Raikou fans at this point in time. Me personally, I think I actually prefer Raging Bolt over Raikou. I love its long neck. It looks really funny to me. And it reminds you of a dinosaur, right? So I can see why this has been steadily climbing up for the past year. And this has not seen a buyout yet, guys. I'm telling you, the sets I'm going to talk about soon, we are definitely getting into potential for a buyout scenario. The longer you wait to buy into these sets, the more potential they have to just be bought out by big whales in this hobby that just want to drive the price up. And maybe they already own Temporal Forces, maybe they already owned a bunch of Paradox Rift, and they just buy out. They spend $10,000, $20,000 on boxes, but they make an insane return on the boxes that they already owned, right? Because they've gone up so much in value because they just bought out whatever supply existed. And so let's see, how many boxes do we have until we get to 300? So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at around 250 to 270, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Or sorry, we'll say 16 because this is 2. So these two are at 300. So there's around 16 boxes, ranging from 250 to 270 until we reach the $300 mark on Temporal Forces. I think if you want to get into this box, you probably need to buy now. I am really not anticipating Pokemon reprinting Temporal Forces boxes at a mass quantity. Why do I think this? Well, we just got a Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks ETB reprint. We didn't even get a booster box reprint. We got an ETB reprint of Twilight and Surging, right? Obviously, these are sets that Pokemon recognizes as, wow, these sets are kind of out of control. They're a little more recent, compared to some of the older sets, so we could be giving these ones reprints. I don't think Temporal is in that window where it's going to get a reprint like that. Temporal was very readily available for a long time at under MSRP, and I don't really see a reason that Pokemon would go back and reprint this at a mass quantity. So again, I think if you're going to buy into anything, I think the booster boxes for this product is actually the best thing you could buy into. I think Temporal Forces is a much stronger set than people realize. It's stronger than Stellar. It is probably stronger than Journey. No, I don't know. I don't know if I could say that. But it is generally a pretty strong set. I think it's stronger than SV Base. It's stronger than Obsidian. It's stronger than Paradox Rift. It's a very decent mid set. I think it has a few things going for it that could really push it into new heights, into new kind of legs up. But I would probably be buying Temporal Forces before it gets too out of hand. This is probably my number one pick. Not number one. This is probably one of the top three or top 5 picks for things you should buy right now, before it gets too out of hand. Next, we have Twilight Masquerade. Now, this box shocked a lot of people when it started rising extremely quickly, and got to like 280. I remember being shocked myself that it reached those kind of highs, but when you think about it, I think Twilight Masquerade is one of the better boxes from the SV era. That Greninja card is pretty exceptional. You have a really, really solid EV illustration rare, and I think this is still a box worth buying into right now. In terms of a power ranking, I think I would easily put it top 4, top 3. In terms of investability, $320 is not the worst price for a booster box given the current circumstances. Look, I wish things were MSRP, okay? I wish we could go back to Sword and Shield when these things were sold in the Pokemon Center, right? But that's just not the world we live in, so I'm talking about in terms of relative price, right? And I think in that sense, I think Twilight Masquerade is not a bad buy at all. 320 is, it's much lower than a lot of the Sword and Shield boxes, and it is still lower than some of the really expensive Scarlet and Violet boxes like Paldea Evolved, like Destined. I think it's just over Surging Sparks, which I would consider to be a better set, but because it didn't really get as much reprints, as much like Focus Blasted by the Pokemon Company, we did get a Surging Sparks booster box reprint, which was a little more known about. I don't necessarily see us getting a Twilight Masquerade booster box reprint at the same level, especially given the fact that this was at MSRP for a pretty long time before it really started climbing up. Personally, I told you guys I bought a case like a month or two ago for around 1,600, which I thought was a pretty good price. And honestly, like I'll be very honest, I could have gotten into Twilight Masquerade at below 1,000 a case, but I felt like that was too expensive at the time. And listen, you live and you learn. I think the set is going to be really good. I definitely made my mistake in not buying into it early, but right now I bought a case. I've doubled down on it. I think I actually have the most boxes in Twilight compared to any other box now because of the case that I bought. Um, and yeah, I think the set is going to do absolutely amazing. Obviously, Mega Greninja is coming out soon. Let's see how many boxes we have until it reaches another leg up to like 400. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and then we have someone who listed 255. And while I would say, wow, that's a lot, that's going to hold up the price at 350, don't always believe these guys that have like 255 listed, because typically, and I've seen this with the 151 booster bundle display, if the price moves a ton, they're going to delist this and they're going to relist it at a much higher price. So this box is closer to reaching 400 than Temporal Forces, I believe, from what we just saw. So I would be a little careful on holding off of Twilight Masquerade if you have none right now. Next, we have Stellar Crown booster boxes. Now, this is a little puzzling to me. The fact that it's above or at the same level as sets like Temporal Forces is weird, but I guess everything is kind of at this level. Stellar Crown does get ripped a good amount because it is one of the cheaper Scarlet and Violet sets, and people just want to rip something. And remember, it's kind of in that same boat where it was at MSRP or below MSRP for a pretty decent while. And now that all boxes have started moving, it just naturally put upward pressure on Stellar Crown. And it looks like we actually don't have many until it reaches, $300. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So around 11 boxes before this reaches $100. Again, guys, any whale that comes into these listings can just buy out the remaining supply and just drive the price a ton. So if you have no Stellar Crown, I think I'd actually recommend the PCTVs. I believe those are still pretty inexpensive. I'd have to check. Yeah, it's around 160, 180 actually. Wow, these are getting expensive now for a Stellar Crown PCETV. You get a cool Noctowl promo in there with the stamp, which I think is decent. But yeah, Stellar Crown, obviously not the best set. I wouldn't really recommend buying into it. I think there's other things you could get for a similar price, both PC version and booster box wise. Moving on to what I would really recommend, Surging Sparks. I think the market is seeing this right now, and they realize they need a buy-in right now. So you can see the price is already moving up, and I'll be honest, guys, I think you need to buy into this box soon. Let's see how much we get until it reaches another leg up. Now, it just kind of reached 300 recently, it looks like, but let's see how many it takes to get to 400. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 400. Like, I have to go to page like 5 to get to 400. So with Surging Sparks, there probably is a lot more booster boxes out there because of the new reprint. And so you're not necessarily in a rush to buy them. But again, the market is very dynamic. If a huge buyout happens and it reaches 350, maybe a lot of people are going to remove their listings, and then they're suddenly going to try and relist them for a better price, because people are always chasing the best price they can get for their product. So I think Surging Sparks is still a decent buy right now. It's one of the best sets. It's kind of caused it didn't necessarily like directly cause the big boom that we're having, but it was one of the few catalysts that really drove prices up. As you guys know, I was really shilling the Pokemon Center ETB for a while, and it looks like it has definitely started climbing up to new highs. It's almost around $300. I think I'd actually recommend the booster box, um, if possible. But the PCTV is obviously a great buy. I remember buying cases of these for 600 just a few months ago, which feels like a dream now. Yeah, these prices are crazy, man. I don't know what's going on with the Pokemon hobby. Um, when I was first starting to invest, I was happy to get a few percentage gains every day, like 1-2% every day. I was like, wow, this is insane growth. Um, I don't know what's going on anymore. It feels like everything is growing at a pretty unsustainable rate. We'll see what happens though. Um, yeah, I think Searching Sparks is still a good buy regardless. Next, we have Journey Together. Specifically, I'm looking at the enhanced booster box. And this is around 250 right now. Let's see again. How many does it take to reach another leg up? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it looks like we got a good amount until we reach the 300, around like page 4. So it's actually a good amount of listings. Not too worried about this seeing a huge market manipulation anytime soon. But what's interesting is that this is seeing some steady price increase because the promo card inside, and again, I was telling you guys to buy this because of the enhanced version having that promo card in there with the Anzareshi RAM. The promo card is starting to see some value gain on it, and obviously this includes the promo. And I was always saying, hey, I have no idea why the regular booster box is less or is more expensive than the enhanced, and we're finally starting to see it overtake the regular one. As you can see, the regular booster box is well, actually, it's a little bit more expensive still for some reason, but the case seems to be less expensive, question mark. So yeah, let's see, the case, or no, okay, that's just, actually the case is still more expensive and extremely hard to find, I guess, here. um Personally, I would still be buying a case of Journey Together enhanced booster boxes if you can. We really have no idea if the next wave of reprints for Journey Together boxes are going to be the regular or the enhanced. But also, given the fact that you get a really fun promo card, I think it's probably worth it. Um, I remember thinking I was crazy for buying a case at around 1200, but it looks like it is paying off. Um, yeah, I think the enhanced booster boxes are a good pick. Journey Together, definitely a really like good mid-tier set. I would say probably almost on the same level as Temporal. It's got the Lily's Clefairy. It's got a really fun Salamence, Articuno illustration rare, um, Zoroark. A few very interesting cards that I think are pretty slept on. In consideration to the rest of the era, it is a smaller set, but still, I think it's a very solid one. I think if anything, they probably could have included Heatwave Arena into this set and made it a little bit better, in that sense, but it is what it is. Of course, they gave it to Destined Rivals, which already didn't really need it, but especially for the case, it's looking like there's not many left until it reaches some pretty high highs. And yes, guys, there is a case premium. Please do not open your cases, okay? There is, in fact, a case premium. You can see just between here. Actually, I think here 1500 divided by 6 is around 250. So, the case premium is not that high if it's 247, 248. But eventually, as things get pricier, the case premium definitely does exist. I think it's more evident in other boxes that are a little older and harder to find. But in any case, I think Journey Together enhanced booster boxes are not a bad buy right now either. Um, Maybe a little subject to reprints. It definitely, we could be seeing them, but at the same time, I'm not too worried about it destroying the price completely. It looks like this market is just ready to eat up whatever comes out. And the PCETB is still around $200. Again, I was pointing this out as a great buy a while ago, saying that the ends Zorua promo in there was really solid. I was pointing this out at a potential buy. I picked up a few of these. If you didn't, that's unfortunate. But yeah, these are now, it looks like, at a $200 mark. I feel like we're seeing a kind of second wave of pump into almost every product. Everything I'm seeing here has been going up recently, in terms of sealed, which is absolutely insane to see. Um, so we'll just see what happens in the future. And now, of course, we got to talk about Destined Rivals. Now, obviously, I already went over this in a different video, but this did recently see a big kind of buyout, a big purchase of a lot of the boxes in the market. And in terms of reaching, the next, like, another $500 mark, It does look like we've got a good amount of supply before that happens. Um, but it's still only like to like page 2. Although a lot of these listings have, a good amount of boxes there. So like it's not like this box doesn't exist anywhere. It is available. People have it. I think people are just almost holding on to it though. I don't think people really want to sell this box because it just feels like every day it gets more and more expensive. Um, and I've kind of learned my lesson from selling a box or two. I'm not selling any more boxes of my DR. I think I'm just gonna hold on to it for Kingdom Come. If any more reprints come, I'm probably gonna double down and buy more of it. And I think that's how the whole market sentiment is towards Destined Rivals at this point, and there's nothing you can do to change it. This kind of insane growth over just a few months gives consumers a level of confidence that is unhealthy, um, genuinely. And it is going to do some pretty insane things to the market. Destined Rivals moving like this and Paradox Rift moving like this is going to basically give upward pressure to all the other booster boxes within the Scarlet and Violet era. And so I would say if you want to get into booster box investing and you are pretty low capitalized or you don't have as much as you want to before another big run up happens, you need to buy into certain sets like Temporal, like Twilight, like Surging. I think those are probably my big 3 in terms of what I would be buying. I think Surging is probably the best one to buy into, followed by Twilight and then Temporal. And so right now I would really be focusing on those sets if you can. If you don't have a Destined Rivals box, I'm sorry, it is unfortunate. What I would do is probably wait for a reprint to hit the market or just buy into it now and kind of just hope that you can dollar cost average when another reprint hits and the price comes down. Personally, I'm probably going to wait for a reprint to pick up another case or pick up some more boxes. But we have really no idea what Pokemon Company is going to do. We don't know if they're going to try and target pack price or if they're going to target the booster box itself as a product, because booster boxes aren't really meant to be consumer items. They're meant to be items that go to card stores and to distributors to get packs out to people in like a card shop format. But they're no longer that. Now they are a consumer item that people are trying to buy, rip all the packs for themselves, or just use for packs on a live stream or something, right? For rip and chip. And so that premium is really, really hitting right now in a way that it hasn't before. So again, guys, if you want to get into the booster box, investing for Scarlet and Violet, you need to act sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, the train is leaving the station soon. And yeah, that's going to be this video. Let me know what you guys are buying down in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.